Welcome to Channel's Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, from our studios here in London. Over the next half an hour, we'll be looking beyond the business headlines by giving you in-depth perspective on the stories that are affecting all of us. Coming up on today's show, Nigeria has become the 11th country to go on the UK red list for international travel. All nations currently on the list are African. The latest measures have been described as travel apartheid by leaders across the globe. I'll be getting the latest on this by our business correspondent Simon Pusey, pathologist Dr. Philip Idayawo, and Abbas Tijani, the CEO of DJA Media. All of them will be joining me from here in London. And according to the latest government data, just 5.4% of black Britons hold senior management positions across the country. One social enterprise hoping to turn these stats around is Career Nuggets. I'll be bringing you highlights from the end-of-year Career Nuggets event, how to inspire people from the black minority ethnic community to take their job prospects to the next level. Then later, I'll be looking back at some of the biggest business news stories of the week. But first, to our main story. To curb the spread of Omicron, the UK has increased travel restrictions for people coming into the country. Following 21 cases of Omicron reported in England, which were linked to travel from Nigeria, the country was added to Britain's travel red list. The measure means that only British and Irish citizens can travel into England from the country, and they must stay in a managed quarantine hotel for 10 days at a cost of £2,285 for one adult. Anyone caught breaking the rules will face a penalty of up to £10,000. The measure has sparked global backlash, with some describing the travel bans from African countries as travel apartheid. There are some people that qualify for exemption, including those working in diplomatic missions, medical professionals and specialised technical workers. Separately, from Tuesday, anyone wishing to travel to the UK from countries and territories not on the red list must also show proof of a negative PCR or lateral flow pre-departure test. This applies to vaccinated passengers and children aged 12 and above. Earlier, I spoke with our business correspondent Simon Pusey for some analysis. Simon, these new measures that have been put in place this week have caused complete outrage on the African continent, particularly in Nigeria, but also a little bit of backlash within the country itself.
Yeah, and understandable anger, really, despite the Omicron variant being found in South Africa and in Botswana. A lot of other countries have been added across the continent, and a lot of people are saying that's extremely unfair. Countries like Malawi have recorded less than 20 COVID cases at all, and we know the number of cases in Nigeria of this new variant are very, very small as well. So a lot of people saying the science, this just doesn't add up. If we just look at the UK and what they've done, they've added 11 African countries to the red list, including Nigeria on Monday. That means people must quarantine when they come to the country. That's 10 days in a hotel. That costs £2,285 for one adult. And that's a huge, huge amount of money in the lead up to Christmas. And obviously there are a lot of people who have interests here, have family here. There are a lot of British Nigerians who live here who want to get back home for Christmas. So that's obviously going to cause huge outrage. One of the reasons we're told is because the vaccinations across Africa as a continent is not as high as elsewhere in Europe. For example, it's just 7% of Africans have been fully vaccinated. A lot of people would point to the fact that rich countries have been hoarding the vaccinations, and that's a reason for that. But there's huge criticism, as you say, that even the WHO's top European official says the Omicron variant is already everywhere. So actually these travel bans, it's not really going to make any difference. The Archbishop of Canterbury calling to scrap travel apartheid, and a lot of African leaders have been calling it travel apartheid. Cyril Ramaphosa obviously has been going pretty crazy over this because he's been saying we should be congratulated, not punished. And a lot of people are talking about colonial undertones as well, saying this reflects long-held prejudices that, diseases start in Africa. Well, this disease clearly didn't start in Africa. It was discovered in South Africa. Who knows where it started? That doesn't really matter. So I think there's a lot of justifiable outrage at this, and a lot of people saying, well, this doesn't make any sense scientifically. I think what's going to be interesting over the next few days is to see whether European and American leaders look at this and think, yeah, actually, this is pointless. This variant is everywhere. We may as well open up or at least have a fair policy for all countries, because this variant could come from any country. And, the UK clearly has a lot more cases of this variant than, say, Nigeria.
Thank you, Simon. Let's stay with this travel restriction story with a focus on the travel bans inflicted upon southern African nations and most recently Nigeria. Many observers have said the move does not reflect sound public health policy, but instead displays long-held prejudices that continue to deny African citizens the right to mobility and the right to healthcare. Well, for more on this developing story, I'm now being joined by Dr. Philip Idayawo, a pathologist working at Basildon and Thurrock University Hospital. Dr. Philip Idayawo, thank you so much for joining me on the show. There's a lot to go through. We don't have much time, but let's start with the science first, if you may. Of course, there's still so much we need to understand about this new variant, but there has been news that has emerged suggesting that antibodies built up by a previous infection or through the administration of a vaccine are 41 times less effective than they have for previous strains. Should we be concerned about Omicron?
Thank you for having me. I will say that based on experiences with viruses like the flu virus in the past, this is to be expected with a virus of this nature. It is to be expected. And therefore, what we should focus on, in my view, is the continued vaccination and development of vaccination. With flu virus, every year they use a different vaccine. So I think we should learn a lesson from the way the world has managed flu with regard to vaccination, and we should just calm down and ensure that we encourage people to get vaccinated. It is important that people understand that the single most potent force against this virus is vaccination at this point in time.
Absolutely. Let's go to the politics now. African leaders, including the president of the African Development Bank, have said there is no scientific justification for imposing a travel ban on southern Africa and, of course, Nigeria. Focusing on Nigeria, over the weekend, the Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, said there were, I believe, about 23 cases of Omicron in the UK linked to travel recently from Nigeria. In your medical position, is this justification for the action that's caused so much uproar?
I think that I totally agree with Dr. Adeshina's position, and a lot of persons that have spoken on this, I agree with them. I think that imposing travel ban, blanket travel bans without clarifications, okay, I think that is counterproductive. I think that it should be the case that if you have been vaccinated, you have had your first jab and second jab, it should be the case that you should be allowed to travel in following the usual protocol of being tested before you came out of the country of origin. Now, putting a blanket travel ban is counterproductive because you simply, by this singular action, tell those who have been vaccinated and those people who have been campaigning against vaccination that they may be right. And I think that is dangerous for us. It's dangerous for everyone to be in a position where we began to question the validity or the efficacy of vaccination. The only way, I repeat, to deal with a virus of this nature, as we have seen from previous experiences, is vaccination. And I think that governments need to be very careful. They should be driven by data, big data at that, and they should be driven by science. The science does not support the fact that you should not, create clusters. Those who have been vaccinated should be treated differently from those who have not been vaccinated. And that is the proper way to have gone, in my view. And I think that this situation is just messy.
I told you we didn't have enough time to unpack such a serious conversation, but I'm sure we'll have you back on the show again soon. Dr. Philip Idayawo, a pathologist at Basildon and Thurrock University Hospital. Thank you for joining me on the show. Thank you, Dr. Philip.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well, it is the story of the moment, so we're staying with it. For more reaction, I'm now being joined by Abbas Tijani, more popularly known as DJ Abbas. Abbas Tijani, it's always a pleasure to have you on Channel's Business Global. Big topic to discuss. A senior cabinet minister in Boris Johnson's government described some of the strong language used by the Nigeria High Commissioner as unfortunate. Of course, the ambassador isn't the only person to express displeasure at this recent travel ban. On social media, I've seen the terms racist, xenophobic a conspiracy theory and so much more. What's your take on this?
That news hit the Nigerian community very, very hard a couple of days ago, and nobody expected it. And the harsh language or the harsh words you've heard from the High Commissioner and the community at large is on the basis of the inability to understand the rationale behind singling out Nigeria and a few other African countries in tackling this particular issue. Bear in mind, most Nigerians or most parts of the world, there was no Christmas in terms of travel. When we just had to deal with that over a year, and to think at the prospects of having to do that again, basically on the basis of something that the British government has not been able to explain to the Nigerian people in particular and to Africans at large, why the rationale behind this travel ban. Some would have even used stronger language.
Absolutely, and I think some have. Some of the choice terms I used are friendly for television purposes. We know that flights to Nigeria are very, very high. I think if you want to take a direct flight at this time of the year, you can pay upwards of £1,500. I know you've got your ear to the ground. Can you just quantify, Abbas, some of the economic losses for people that weren't just travelling just because, you know, they wanted to relax? Some people had shows, lots of people were having pop-up stores. Can you tell us some of the case stories you've heard?
Well, as you know, for most diasporans, you know, the opportunity to go back home and spend some time with family is something they all look forward to, particularly around Christmas. And Christmas is not something they plan in a month. They take perhaps half the year, the whole year to plan it. And particularly on the back of a pandemic where many people have had to postpone their Christmas travel for a year, at times two, just to be able to catch up with this. The losses are immeasurable, you know. December in Nigeria, there's a term called Dirty December, you know. A lot of people look forward to December for the concerts, for meeting with family, travel. And there's even this new thing happening now within most African communities where they go to the respective countries, like a lot of Nigerians go to Nigeria, but then take a week out to go to Ghana, take a week out to go to Kigali, Rwanda. And there are a lot of, the UK diaspora economy feeds so much into Nigeria. Particularly the UK diaspora economy. I describe the UK as the 37th state of Nigeria, and Peckham is the capital, you know. And to think that all this has just suddenly happened at very, very short notice, giving no option, you know, no other option for travelers to be able to adjust. The losses are totally immeasurable.
Absolutely. I think a lot of our viewers would agree with you. Will people still travel, Abbas? Some would,
if it's very, very, you know, essential. I know a couple of people who are going for funerals, you know, an opportunity to say bye-bye for the last time to their loved ones. And they've had to, like, you know, bite the bullet and say, okay, well, we'll do it. And hopefully, perhaps before we come back, perhaps the ban would have been lifted. So a handful will travel, but unfortunately, the overwhelming majority will have to spend Christmas in the UK. And those in Nigeria who have family here will perhaps have to do the same.
Before I let you go, I saw you at the Nigeria High Commissioner's reception. So many of the big names within the community were there. Do you think diplomatic relations could be hampered by this?
Well, if you speak with the ambassador himself, he will tell you in the life of any ambassadorial tenure, you would have ups and downs. This is definitely a major down. And hopefully, I believe it's more than the vaccine issue. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. And I do believe in the very near future, you know, we'll have reason to smile.
Absolutely. Abbas Tijani, CEO of DJA Media. Thank you so much for joining me on Channels Business Global. Thanks, Abbas. Welcome back to Channels Business Global with me, Juliana Olayinka, from our studios here in London. In a few minutes, I'll be bringing you highlights from the end-of-year Career Nuggets event, how to inspire people from the BME community to take their job prospects to the next level. But before then, here's some company news for you. Former US President Donald Trump has announced that his social media company, Truth Social, has raised $1 billion from investors. The sum is in addition to the $293 million that Digital World Acquisition raised in an initial public offering. Trump has said Truth Social will be an alternative to Silicon Valley internet companies that are biased against him and other conservative voices. is expected to be launched in the first quarter of 2022. China's Producer Price Index soared to 12.9% last month. The figure is slower than October's 26-year high of 13.5%, but faster than economists had forecast. The world's second-largest economy staged an impressive rebound from the pandemic, but has lost momentum in recent months as it grapples with surging prices, a slowing manufacturing sector, debt problems in the property market and persistent COVID-19 outbreaks. Russia resumed its space tourism program on Wednesday with a flight to the International Space Station. The space travelers, which includes Japanese billionaire Yusaku Maezawa, will spend 12 days in orbit. The group will hold a friendly badminton tournament on the ISS before returning to Earth on the 20th of December. In October, Roscosmos sent an actor and a film director to space, where they filmed scenes for the first movie in orbit. An Amazon-operated cloud center outage led to a global shutdown of Amazon services, leaving vans that were supposed to deliver packages sitting idle with no communication from the company. The group also experienced a similar issue in July, when its services were disrupted for nearly 2 hours. The outage could potentially create lasting logjams during the company's critical Christmas shopping season, when there is already a problem with supply chain issues. Nestlé has cut its stake in L'Oréal to about 20% by selling shares worth €8.9 billion back to the French cosmetic brand. The announcement is the latest development toward a long-speculated decoupling of two of the world's biggest consumer goods companies. In a statement, the Nescafé maker said the group remains fully supportive of the company's value creation strategy and will retain its 2 positions on L'Oréal's board. This marks the second time that Nestlé has sold some of its shares back to L'Oréal. The last time, in 2014, Nestlé disposed of an 8% stake for €6 billion. Rohingya refugees in the US and UK are suing Facebook for more than $150 billion for claims the social media giant permitted the spread of hate speech and dangerous misinformation against the community. Rights groups have raised growing concerns that Facebook does not do enough to prevent the spread of disinformation on its platform. An estimated 10,000 Rohingya Muslims were killed during a military crackdown in Buddhist-majority Myanmar in 2017. In 2018, Facebook admitted that it had not done enough to prevent the incitement of violence and hate speech against the community. Now to our next topic. According to the latest government data, just 5.4% of black Britons hold senior management positions across the country. Job cuts due to the pandemic have made opportunities within the labour market even more difficult for the community, with data from the Office for National Statistics showing that 27% of people from black backgrounds are finding it difficult to make financial ends meet. One social enterprise hoping to turn these stats around is Career Nuggets, a group that was created to inform, educate and inspire people from the BME community to take their career to the next level. Channel's Business Global was granted access to the Career Nuggets end-of-year gathering, described as an evening to celebrate and encourage its members.
You know what? I'm doing this for the black community. Somebody has to be a voice for our community in terms of seeing more representation in senior management in the workplace. A lot of people get jobs, and when they get to middle management, they seem to stop there. When you're in middle management, you don't have much influence. When you move into boardroom level, directorship level, you can effect change. Not only that, you can pay the way forward for others. You can bring others in. The marketplace is about networking. So I'm doing this because I want to push more people into the boardroom so that they can have a voice for the black community, so that we're remunerated for what we are worth. A lot of us have qualifications, but we're not really working at that right level. And it's time we do that, and I'm doing it for our children. It's about posterity. Our children, they work hard, go to good schools, and they should be rewarded accordingly. It's to create opportunities for others. That's what's driving me. Thank you.
7 years maybe. I think events like this open the eyes of people around, especially the young ones, to see that, you know, there are pathways to becoming a manager, to becoming a director, to becoming the chairman of an organization, a CEO, with things that we wouldn't have thought of before. And I think it's events like this that bring people together who are in positions of influence to mentor those who are just starting out in their own careers.
Things have changed. You know, we used to be known for all those dirty things like fraud and crimes and all of that. Not anymore. And one of the reasons why I love the theme for this event, never say never, never say, you know, you're going to quit or anything like that, you know. The mindset has totally changed. I've seen Nigerians at the top. I've seen Nigerians being CEO, chief executive, directors in top places, you know, places you can never imagine that, you know, Nigerians can be. So we've moved from being cleaning, from doing cleaning jobs and all those little jobs to, you know, having some top jobs. Yes, the mindset has really changed and has shifted. So never say never.
Career Nugget has really changed my life in the sense that it's the access to mentors who have gone ahead within my industry and who are really doing well within my community, the Black and Asian and ethnic minority. Being able to help me network with those people has been really profound. So for instance, Career Network was able to get me connected with a senior technical manager in food manufacturing, which is my industry. And so what has happened is that I've been able to leverage on their knowledge, their experience, their exposure to be able to chart a course for myself and all that. So that's been really helpful. Another thing is the one-to-one support that Morenike has also given me. That's been really wonderful as well. I got to also meet another business consultant within the within Career Nugget, and so she's also taking me through several modules to help me polish an idea and bring it to the market and all that. So I mean, I can be. It's just countless. It's countless. Yes.
Excellence program.
It's been beautiful how you see people move from a place of total despondence, not knowing who they are or what they want to achieve, to a place where they found themselves and they're even impacting others and they're passing it forward.
It is very difficult. It's not, you know, you've got quite a lot of issues regarding the color. And like I said, it's not about somebody you know. There are not many people in the workplace that you might know that can help you. So when you work, we work doubly hard. So it's not about just doing 7 hours work. Sometimes you work 14 hours to earn that income. And I'm a director of corporate services, so I have responsibility for finance, IT, but the team I have is very small, so there's a lot more work. My other counterparts will probably have a bigger team, but for a black person and a woman, I have to prove myself so many times. There's been a lot of knockbacks. I face redundancy, but I keep on rising. So it's not hard, it's not easy. I know back home, people look at the exchange rate and think, just send me £10, £20, but that £10, you work very hard for it. So whatever anybody sends you, take it with a heart of gratitude and be grateful for it and know that it's their sweat.
Well, sadly, that's all we have time for today, but do get in touch with your comments and suggestions. I'll see you at the same time next week for more in-depth business analysis on Channel's Business Global. Goodbye.